Hello, everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome you all to my Royce in the House YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for joining. We got a great show for you tonight. Super talented lead guitarist Paul Guerin's with us, and we're going to all ask him questions. Dan McNew and I, who was the contact with Paul, we're going to ask Paul questions. And as soon as we get done with our questions, I want the chat to have questions prepared that we can bring up and ask Paul. I want the chat to participate, asking questions and things like that. So first of all, I want to ask you guys, do me a proper, hit that like button, gets the show distributed to a wider audience. And for people watching now and others that'll be watching later after the show, the shows run continuously forever. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot of content out there for you, a lot of classic rock, current rock, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost a dime. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up Paul and bring up Dan. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. And here we have Dan McNew. Now, Dan McNew was the contact that knows Paul. They're friends. And so Dan got a hold of Paul, and they talked, and they decided we could all do a show together. And I couldn't be more excited about it, Dan. And I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you. And Paul, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity, man. I'm really excited. I totally admire your work. I admire your talent. And I'm really looking forward to this. But Dan, you know what? You know Paul better than I do. I'd like for you to start out with the questions and stuff like that. You ask some, I'll ask some. We can kind of go back and forth,
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Paul and Amy for being such a great host for us when Joanne and I were down there, a week and a half ago, shooting a video and getting the tour of the train station. That was really cool. But so yeah, we had a great time that day, and since then I've been doing a lot more research about Paul and finding out some fantastic things about his history.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, we're going to discuss all that tonight. And my first question is, I know you moved to London in 1987.
Yes.
Now, what were you doing before 1987? Before you moved to London, what were you having any success then, or what was your story?
None whatsoever. No, it was like everybody, in my hometown, Blythe. We all had our little bands, and we played the pubs and church halls, etc. And I did I did an apprenticeship in electronic engineering, just to please my father and prove I could actually do it.
Yeah.
And then I worked as a weaver, all sorts of terrible jobs. And then the opportunity arose with some friends who had a band who actually had an album called, they were a band called Split Crow Road. And they were moving to London. And then some of the guys decided they didn't want to go, etc. And they had already secured a house to rent in London. So there was a room vacant. So I went with them. And then it didn't work out with their plans. So we, decided, well, we all live in the same house. We can all play. Let's form a band. And that's when it started.
Now, was that the Red Dogs?
It wasn't called that then, because we were called Cutting Heads, and then we were called Montana Red Dog after the card game.
Okay.
And when you used to do all the flyers, everything by hand, it was easier to cut Montana out, so you didn't have to write it out every time.
Okay.
Okay. I want to scroll up real quick and give a shout out to Amy Parody, because Amy is Paul's girlfriend, and she really was our connection, or Dan's connection to get this whole thing going. Yes. And here's Amy, and Dan and I both know Amy going back to a show before either one of us, I think, even had a podcast. Well, you might have had one though, Dan.
It really wasn't active back then, but yeah, we're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah, we're talking 5 years ago, and we both knew Amy from another show that we all went to and got to know each other. So anyway, Amy, thank you so much. We appreciate you getting Paul to come on the show. I don't know if she had to twist your arm or you are a willing accomplice, but I mean, we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate Amy's role in getting you here.
Yeah, actually, Amy's the one that contacted me about it. So yeah, and I said, "Oh hell yeah."
Right, right.
There
Okay,
was
so
no,
so Paul, when you first got to London,
yeah,
it eventually became the Red Dogs, but I guess you said that wasn't the initial name of the band.
no,
Now
no.
this band seemed to have taken off, and you wound up with a contract with a record label. I think it was Razor Records. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. At the time, there was, you had like a few labels that were sort of taking on rock bands. There was
Okay, okay.
punk bands, etc. And then, of course, you had the biggies.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it was. It's again, these stories are very long. So, but
Right,
yeah,
right.
to put it in a nutshell, I said to myself, I'm going to give myself 3 years to get a record deal, and it was almost 3 years and 1 day.
Oh, okay,
that I
okay.
actually
So
signed.
it didn't happen overnight then. Yeah.
Oh no. What I used to
Okay.
do was I would go into pubs and take posters off the wall to see where all the bands were playing. And
Right,
then
right.
I would phone the venues up, and we made a demo and send the cassette to them, and then just
Right.
old school, starving, freezing. And,
Oh, yeah.
it was harder to get the gigs in London. So we cut our teeth playing on the south coast of England, and and then you'd go around with a beer glass, people just putting tips in.
Yeah.
So you
Right,
had the
right.
petrol money home.
Well, let me ask you. Okay. Well, you eventually became, like you said, the Red Dogs.
Yeah.
Now, weren't you guys opening initially for the Quireboys at some shows?
What happened was they went to Los Angeles and made that first album, and when they came back, it was the place was buzzing.
Okay.
Everybody, most people were very pleased for them, including myself.
Right.
And then of course the UK tour came along, and there was an American band called Pretty Boy Floyd who was supposed to open up.
My father Floyd's nickname.
Well, and at the last moment, they pulled out, and Sharon contacted us and says, "Look, do you want to do the tour?" And it was a big fat yes. So that whole tour was sold out, and that's, even though we knew each other from the pubs and clubs in London, that's where the friendship was really forged.
Okay. Now, was it Sharon Arden or Sharon Osborne at the time?
Oh, she was Sharon Osbourne, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the whole getting Ozzy out of the hotel room was much earlier. One more little follow-up question, because it's right along the same lines. I heard that when you first heard the Quireboys, you went back to your room. It must have been where all the Red Dogs were staying or whatever.
Yeah.
And told them you just heard the best band you'd ever heard in your life.
That's exactly what it was. They were opening for a band called White Lion, who obviously Mike Tramp, who sings on the new album. And they're kind of the guy that had been looking after them, Bush Telfer. He was he ran the marquee, so any chance he could get to get them on supporting anybody. So I was lucky enough to see them, and I thought they were fabulous. So I did go back that night to the hellhole we lived in.
Well, we've all been there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Dan, I'll let you go now. I kind of turned that into about 3 questions.
That's all good.
Well, I know you've been in several very successful bands, but what I've read and some of the other things you've done, you were kind of what do you call it? Kind of like a hired gun, basically for different artists. And I mean, some of them are very impressive. I mean, I know you toured with Michael Schenker from UFO and Scorpions, and
Scorpions.
And you've been on so many albums. I mean,
I've forgotten half of them. The Michael Schenker story is quite interesting. I'll try to keep it brief. UFO and the Red Dogs were on the same label at this time.
Okay.
And Lawrence Archer was the guitar player, fabulous guitar player. Still friends with him. But they were reuniting with Michael. So what happened was he came to England, and I got a phone call from Robin Greatrex, who, you know, was Razor Records, and he said, Michael needs a guitar tech. Do you want to do it? I went, yeah, I'll do it. So I started out as guitar tech for him. And then as part of the show, he had this new album out called Positive Forward. And it was all acoustic instrumentals, beautiful stuff. And he wanted Pete Way, you know, and Paul Raymond to play the other two acoustic parts. And they didn't want to do it. So Pete Way said to Michael, he says, Paul and Leon Lawson, who was the other tech, he says, they can both play. And he went, you think you could do this? I went, yeah. So then I was guitar tech and playing.
Nice.
And then they gave me a microphone and I was doing backing vocals off stage. So I was guitar tech and playing with Michael, singing backing vocals. And then they gave me this great big machine that had some keyboard samples on. So I was so it was generally a busy night for me.
And also, I know on that tour, you toured Germany, the U.S., and Japan, and I heard there's a bootleg album out called Live from Tokyo.
Yeah.
Now, were you guitar tech then, or were you actually performing to that point?
Well, if the acoustic part of the show is on that bootleg, I'm playing.
Okay.
I'm definitely singing, but I did, you know, somewhere in a suitcase somewhere. My belongings are so scattered. I do have a bootleg from Japan where the acoustic part of the show is on it, so I know it exists. But this is way before anybody had a mobile phone with a camera and everything. You see, so
yeah.
And that was in San Antonio, the first one. So the first time I came to America, we spent 2 weeks rehearsing in San Antonio. And that was that, you know, I dreamed of coming to America. So they said,
right.
Do you mind spending 2 weeks? I went, no, I certainly don't.
I know you like Texas, but what about the heat, though? I mean,
well, I've come to the conclusion I like the air conditioning better.
Oh yeah.
So I'm,
right.
Yeah, because some days, you know, being a ginger half Irish Geordie, it's like it can't, you know, it's a little too much for me. Hands up.
Well, where were we, Dan? Were you still up, question-wise?
Well, just that I got so many questions about all the artists he's performed with. I mean, like
go for it.
Like I know you performed Rocky Mountain Way with Joe Walsh. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, again, see these things. Looking back on them, I mean, it's like they came along in such haphazard sort of ways. And there's an amazing Scottish artist called Frankie Miller. Rod Stewart's covered these songs, Bob Seger, everybody. Beautiful. What a voice, you know, what a songwriter. So in Glasgow, they were having a big tribute night for him with all Scottish artists, everything. Now at the time, I was playing with Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy, and they'd asked him in to sort of be musical director of the house band, etc. And he didn't want to do it. He just wanted to go and play. So a fella called Alec Downey, who was, you know, in charge of the whole thing, flew me to Scotland, and I took over that role. And it was like 40 artists. But I knew Joe Walsh before this. Everybody was all nervous, Joe coming in. But I worked at the New Kings Road Vintage Guitar Emporium for 10 years, which was the elite shop in London for high-end guitars. And a fella called Alan Rogan, who is like who unfortunately he's passed away now, but he was Pete Townsend guitar tech. He's Angus Young's Neil Young. I mean, you name it, then he's Joe Walsh. So I'd met Joe frequently if the Eagles were in town at the shop because they would always come in. So I was very comfortable with the whole thing.
I can imagine.
You know, we did Rocky Mountain Way, Life's Been Good, Guilty of the... Now, he was forming a new band with Frankie when Frankie had his aneurysm, you see. This was going to be the new big thing. And then, unfortunately, Frankie took ill. So, you know, there's an album of material they recorded, and we did a couple of tracks off that. Yeah, superb. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see, Dan. Go ahead, brother.
I'm looking at something else here real quick. Oh, yeah, okay. I want to talk about when you were the house band for a TV show over in the UK.
Yeah.
And some of the people you got to perform with there, I mean, some of them are it's kind of like Eartha Kitt. I mean, yeah. I never would have thought that somebody like you would be playing with Eartha Kitt, but you also
that makes two of us.
But you also performed with Tom Jones.
Well, the actual reality is I did the rehearsal with Tom Jones, but I didn't actually do the TV show.
Oh, okay.
Right? But, you know, I was there.
Yeah.
I can't remember why, but a brilliant guitar player called Paul Culliford, he did it. He's in the Boomtown Rats, and he plays with Tony Visconti in that Holy, which is, you know, the Bowie tribute. So it's so long ago, I can't remember why I didn't do the show, but I did the rehearsal.
Yeah.
But Eartha Kitt, I mean, she was everything and more that you would expect. She was the diva, she was Catwoman, she was everything. It was brilliant.
Oh, Catwoman,
yeah.
That's great.
Also,
okay.
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Go for it.
Now, I guess one of the big things that happened to you was when you were with the Quireboys, Joe Elliott approached you about putting together a band. I guess basically kind of a Mott the Hoople type tribute band, but is what I understand. It ended up being Joe Elliott's Down and Outz.
Yeah,
everything I've heard, man. You guys sounded great. I love the sound you guys put out.
Thank you. Actually, that came about because in 2009, Mott the Hoople reunited to do a week of shows at the Hammersmith Odeon, famous venue in London. Now, Joe has done, you know, his favorite band, Mott the Hoople, obviously Bowie, everybody, but he just wanted to open one of those shows up. Now, Def Leppard couldn't do it; they're too big. So he wanted to put something together just to play for 45 minutes to open up for Mott the Hoople. So he phoned me. I was out shopping, right? He says, I need to put a band together. I says, well, I've got the perfect band, the Quireboys, right? So when you're in London, let's get together. We'll discuss the set list, we'll learn it, everything. So we did the Hammersmith Odeon show, and he was so happy with it. He says, why don't we make a record? Yeah, let's make a record then. And it literally, it just rolled like that. And then he says, I'm free. You know, we've got 6 months off. Do you want to do a tour? Yeah. And some festivals? Yeah. And it was just pretty organic. And then we did another record. Then we did a live album, DVD. And then we did, you know, these were all sort of like buried treasure songs from Mott the Hoople and offshoot bands. So then he wrote an entire album, and it's, you know, I can say this because I didn't write the songs. You know, I wrote my guitar parts, etc. He wrote just some brilliant songs, and the album's called "This Is How We Roll," and it was released.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we released it, and then we, the Quireboys, were on tour in America, and we were in New Orleans, and we came off stage. And the tour manager said, guys, it's over. The pandemic has hit, right? We've got to get you back to England now, or you're going to get stuck here. So we drove from New Orleans to Chicago, got the last flights out of there, and then we couldn't promote This Is How We Roll album. So that's how it was left then. And of course, everybody regrouped after the pandemic. Def Leppard have never stopped.
Yeah.
You know, and then we then we had to fulfill contracts and tour Europe and America, and then we got stuck into making cowboys in pinstripe suits, and the time just ticks by.
Now, is the Down and Out, is that something that could still possibly happen again in the future, or is that?
I don't see why not. Right? You know, we didn't sort of say, well, that's it, it's over. It's just schedules and pandemics and rah kind of, well, didn't just tear us apart, tore everybody apart, and then everybody had to sort of like, you know, dig their heels and regroup and get back to working.
Yeah.
But you know, we were with Joe a few weeks ago, and you know, Def Leppard in a casino. Excuse me. It was superb. Def Leppard, they've always been good, but this is the first time I've seen them in years, not at a festival.
Okay.
Where we'd been opening up or whatever. But you know, they're a machine that doesn't stop rolling. So I know what he's like. If he suddenly gets a year off, he'll be on the phone. Yeah.
Hey, Ergo Splitting, thank you. Now, one thing I'm trying to understand here, hopefully it wasn't already said and I missed it, but when you went from, what was it, the Red Dogs, did that band just end before you were invited into the Quireboys, or did you quit that band and join the Quireboys?
No, that band ended.
Okay.
And then,
now how many albums did you make? It 1 or 2 albums with that? I mean, I know you had a record contract.
Oh, with the Red Dogs.
Well, the Red Dogs.
We made an EP and 2 albums.
Oh, okay. Right on. Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, let's go back to the Quireboys now. Now, the Quireboys. Let's see. What was I going to ask you? Oh, they used to tour. They used to tour acoustically and electrically, not really do them both together. You'd go on a tour with the Quireboys that was all acoustical. Then you'd go on another tour with them that was all electric. How did that work out? I mean, which did you prefer, and how did the audience respond to that?
I love them both equally because
good.
It was 2 completely different shows, because the acoustic show would be myself, Guy Griffin, Keith Weir, and Spike. So it's 2 acoustics and a piano. And, you know, all of us singing, and you know, we would do, you know, obviously we'd do the hits, but we got to do a lot of songs off albums that we wouldn't play in the electric set. Yeah,
no, I can see that. Yeah.
And you know, the audience took to it fabulously. You know, I mean, I spoke to some people who says, oh, you know, I only want to go to the loud rock and roll show, which is fair enough.
Right.
But
well, you know, that's interesting, because, you know, like Jimi Hendrix is one of my all-time favorite guitar players. He might have been my number 1 for a very, very long time. A huge fan of Jimi Hendrix. But the only song I ever heard him play acoustically was that "Hear My Train A-Comin'," I think it was, with the feather in his hat, sitting in a chair. And you know, and then I see so many other people like you, for example, or Jimmy Page. I mean, Eric Clapton. You could just interchange in and out of that. And I always wondered why Jimmy didn't do a little more acoustic. Maybe it wasn't as easy to make it psychedelic or whatever, you know. But anyway, what briefly, Natalie, Angelo, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad you're enjoying the interview with Paul. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out why some people, or you know, like to mix it.
I think, well, I think just for me and my, you know, my buddies in the band, most of the songs were always written on an acoustic.
Yeah. And
then they became electric songs for the full band. But, you know, 90% of them were just, you know, sitting around with acoustic and just coming up with stuff. And then, so that's why it was easy to revert back to how they were originally written. You know, and I mean, even down to a practical thing, because, you know, Jimmy was left-handed. in the 60s, I'm sure it wasn't quite like it is now with the trailers full of guitars and that. I'm sure he would just pick up what was lying around. But there probably wasn't that many left-handed acoustic guitars lying around those days. Maybe just something as simple as that.
I got a question about your experience with John Entwistle.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to record an album at his castle.
That's right. So his house was the Lord Mayor of London's, I can only call it a castle, right? It's bigger than anything I've lived in. And so we got signed a production deal with Atlantic Records, the Red Dogs. So they put us in there to record the album. Now, he had just turned his ballroom into a commercial studio. And there was a Liverpudlian band called the Lars. They were in before us. And they had like a big hit. And then we were the next band in, and, we all arrived full of beans. And John used to sit in this black and white TV with this old Irish wolfhound with really fancy, like Elvis type clothes on, drinking Jack Daniels. And I think for the first week, he just, he nodded at us and didn't really speak to us. I guess looking back, he's probably thinking, I don't want you in my house. And I spoke to Bobby Pridden, who was to this day, the Who's monitor engineer, and he was engineering the album. And I said, he's not very friendly because we all got northern accents. He said, he doesn't understand anything you're saying. But he very quickly warmed to us. And so you'd come out of the ballroom, which was now the studio, and he had his own pub in the house called the Barracuda Bar, and he's a keen fisherman. And hanging from the ceiling were marlins and everything that he had preserved that he'd caught. And he'd be behind the bar with a barman's pinstripe, we call it a penny. Right, lads, what you having? And he'd be pulling the pints. And there was a piano in the corner where it played itself, but the keys actually went up and down. I mean, it was just terrific. And he had his full stage bass rig in this bar. And so when he'd had a couple of drinks, he would plug in what was it called, the guitar? Oh, was it the Beast or something? And this thing would shake the tiles off the roof, the volume of this thing. And he'd be playing away, and we're all getting drunk. And then, it was kind of like that every day. Very nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, Dan. Did you have a question next, or?
No, you go ahead if you got one.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, I do have. I do have one. I know you got to go back to England middle of August or end of August.
Yeah.
And that's to prepare for an upcoming tour, right?
Yeah. Well, the actual reality is, because me being a visitor here, you get 90 days.
Okay.
So it's the law.
Okay.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, because we don't actually start touring till November. But at the end of August, I've taken up my 90 days. So we're actually going to try and make a plan that I've got. The great thing is, I've got the studio here and I've got the studio in England, so I can work anywhere. Yeah. So anything I'm working on, I can send over there and send back, etc. So, but I do have a bunch of stuff to do in England. But if I can come back before Black Eyed Sons start touring, I plan to.
Now, is this going to be the first tour for the Black Eyed Sons?
Yes, we've only done a couple of live shows. We did one in London in December. It was like the album launch, and that went great. And then we did one of those cruise things in Norway And
Okay.
that was fabulous. So yeah, we decided not to rush into it because we were, we were changing, PR companies, agents, all of that. And, the agency said, look, we want time to sell these tickets and do it properly. Now, also what's brilliant is Guy Griffin, we call him Griff. He's been doing all the videos. He did the artwork for the album sleeve. So he's really put himself 100% into that. So we've been releasing singles along the way.
Yeah, that video, Cowboys in Pinstripe Suits, man, that video is excellent. I love it.
Well, that's all Guy's work.
Now, also, when y'all released the album, you released it what, the end of December, 1st of January, somewhere in there?
It was, of course, I'm terrible with dates. It was end of January, I believe.
But once it was released, it pretty much shot up the charts in the UK, didn't it? I mean,
it did, and which, of course, even though this band, everybody knows, the public know who we are as a band because we were 5/6 of the Quireboys, but something new.
Right.
And,
right.
But it does have an interesting twist because we have a lot of heavy hitting artists who came in as guests.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because it started. Guy wrote a song with Dan Reed, Dan Reed Network, and then he was talking to Steve Conte, who's with Mike Monroe, New York Dolls, etc. And I know these guys, but Guy goes back 30 years with Steve, and he wanted to be involved, and then it kind of just started building up, and of course, obviously we're going to have Joe on there, Joe Elliott, and the title track was the perfect one for him because of the content of the lyrics that Guy wrote. So, and then I wrote a song on it called "Dig Me Out of This Hole," and it's the first time I've done this. There was talk of Angry Anderson from Rose Tattoo being involved, and I sat down for the first time ever to specifically write the song for somebody. So that I wrote that song for him, and he ended up not doing it because he had some health problems or something.
Oh.
But I love Guy's vocal on it. It's fantastic. And then Scotty Hill from Skid Row, he was in touch saying, on the original recording, I did a lot of slide guitar, and he heard it and he said, I never get to play slide guitar with Skid Row. I'd love to play some. So we took my slide off, and he played the slide solo on it, and it just things just evolved like that with the different artists.
Yeah,
it's great. And people would just say, look, I want to be on this album.
Yeah, right. Something you told me when I was down there a week and a half ago talking about your slide. Now, the little thing you use for your slide, who gave that to you? That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, well, obviously I have several, but here we are. Ronnie Wood gave this to me in about 1990.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah. And again, it was just one of those chance things. Gibson Guitars had opened an artist relation place in London, in Denmark Street, the famous Denmark Street, which is always, the Tin Pan Alley.
Okay.
And I was the first British guitarist that they signed at the time. So of course, I didn't have the tube fare to get there, right? But I'd go and hang out there because I felt so proud and I loved it. And I went in one day and Ronnie Wood was in there, and Gibson had made a Firebird for him, and for whatever reason he didn't like it, didn't want it, and all that. And the girl Annika, she says, "Oh, Paul plays slide," and he hands it to me.
Nice.
And he hands me his slide. He goes, "Well, play something." So
Wow.
Let me ask you, Paul, just a quick question from the chat here. Stephen Fox is asking, is that brass, that slide?
Oh yes, brass every time.
It looked brass, but I just wanted to make sure that, you know, Stephen got it from the horse's mouth. Let me ask you a quick question here now. We're kind of moving past the Quireboys, but wasn't that something like a 15-year run for you?
Oh, it was over 20 years.
Over 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's even longer than I thought. That's a hell of a run.
Oh yeah, we made a lot of records.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, which was it? The Quireboys you had the #2 hit in England with?
Well, the Quireboys prior to me.
Oh, okay, okay.
That first album, A Little Bit of What You Fancy, that went to #2.
It was like Hey something or other. I can't think of the full name, but the proper name.
Well, the album was called, well, Hey You. That was 7 o'clock. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were the hit songs off that record.
Okay. All right. So let's see then. So now you're with the Down and Outs, and did you say Elliott's in that band too, from Def Leppard?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was basically his dream side band.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
And the music's great.
Let me ask you about the touring. How many times would you say you toured the U.S.?
Oh.
Okay, that's okay. At least probably 15 or so, right?
oh yeah.
And
as I said, I apologize. I'm not good with dates and.
Oh no! Well,
I think something. Keith, plays piano keyboards with Black Eyed Sons, the Quireboys, Down and Outs. Me and him have been together 35 years.
Wow!
And he's like an encyclopedia. He can tell you the date, the hotel we stayed in, everything. And I sit there.
Well, who would you call? I mean, you guys are a big band, but I mean, who would you call some of the other big bands that you played or toured with?
Well, the thing is, I mean, not so much big bands, but I had a band for about 3 years with Brian Robertson from the classic Thin Lizzy line.
Oh, okay.
Right, and I mean, he's some guitar player. So even that was a funny story. He was doing an interview with Kerrang magazine.
Okay.
With a journalist, great guy called Neil Jeffries, and he says, "I'm looking for a guitar player who plays like me, so I don't have to play like me. I want to play something different." And he said, Paul Guerin's your man. So I got a phone call. Come to the famous John Henry's studios at 2 o'clock on Friday. So I went to reception, studio number 4, and I walked in. There was nobody there, nobody. And there was a Marshall half stack in the corner, and I had my Les Paul with me, and I just thought, they're probably going to the pub or something, I don't know. So I plugged in, and I was just playing for about an hour. This thing of deafening volume.
Okay.
I didn't know that he was sitting tucked around the corner. And he suddenly appeared. He went, "You've got the job, Glasgow." He says, "You've got the job. Let's go for a pint."
Here, I got a question I've been waiting to ask you. Okay. Like, we've got some areas, and I'm sure you have plenty of them in England, even Birmingham, especially right now. But we have some areas that I would consider rock hallowed ground, Yeah. One would be the Los Angeles area and Laurel Canyon. Laurel Canyon, and then all the clubs just down the hill on Sunset, like the Whiskey A Go Go. Now, did you visit those places at all when you were in the USA?
Oh, absolutely. And
okay, good.
We played the Whiskey about 7 times.
Oh, nice.
And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and we, we stayed at a friend's house, Angie Brieux, and that's in Laurel Canyon. So
nice.
I actually, I was so pleased to be there. It was like, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We'd had a few drinks, and
right.
I just went out just to look out and just think of what had happened there. And I fell asleep, and I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, still sitting in the chair. But I didn't care because I was just feeling the atmosphere.
I've done a couple of podcasts on Laurel Canyon, and one of them is one of my biggest shows. Everybody loves the story about Laurel Canyon.
Oh.
I also did a funny one about just down the hill from Laurel Canyon, Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah.
And Frank Zappa was there playing, and John Wayne came in drunk with his bodyguards. And John Wayne stands up and, I remember you. I met you in Egypt. And he talked a little bit, and then you blew me. And he starts laughing, and Zappa got pissed off, and he goes, well, I was going to have as a guest here, I was going to have the president of the Nazi club, but I've got John Wayne instead. And John Wayne got up, and he was drunk, and he was trying to get to the stage, and his bodyguards were holding him back, telling him, you better shut up.
Well, again,
but anyway, so the other thing I wanted to ask you about also, another place that I call rock's hallowed ground is the Haight-Ashbury district in San Francisco, where I was a couple of years ago. I made a video up there, and then you had the Golden Gate Park, where Jerry Garcia and Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and Santana, who always opened for Jerry Garcia. They all played their free concerts, and everybody was on acid at the time.
Yeah.
Did you get to visit any of those places as well?
Oh yes.
I figured as much. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I tell you another one is the Electric Ladyland Studios.
Oh God, yes, so, in New York, yeah. I've got that 4 or 5 album set of Jimmy's called Electric Lady Studios.
Well, I used to fly back and forth to New York all the time to play guitar for this country artist, Mary McBride.
Oh, sure.
And she stayed in Union Square, which is like 2 seconds, that's where the studio is.
Right, so right.
I thought, I've got to go in here. I've got to. So anyway, I buzzed the buzzer and, hello, can I help you? And I'm just over from England recording with so-and-so. I just want to check out the studio. Right. Sorry, no. Okay. So that was a big fat no. So I went down to the deli and I got a couple of donuts and I got some coffee and I went and sat with my back against the wall by the door, just thinking of who had walked through that door.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right. And then walked out with a hit album behind them. So
yeah, well that studio,
I never got to go in.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Well, that's that album I have, Electric Lady Studio. I can't remember, it was 4, 5, 6 albums, but it's also got the Blu-ray DVD where they're making the studio, and there's supposed to be closets full of tapes because he just, incessantly was recording and stuff. It didn't have much. He didn't live very long after that. But what's also amazing, if you know Jimmy, he had 3 studio albums. I probably have 25 Jimi Hendrix albums. That's probably half of what's out there. And I count my 8 album set. That it was made in 2020. I opened it when I reached 1,000 subscribers. I told everybody I'm not going to open this until I get 1,000 subscribers. I finally got it. I opened that 8 album set, but they're reissuing it now, but in 2025. But it doesn't have the velvet cover like mine. But when I say I have 25 albums, I count that 8 album set, or the Electric Lady set, or the 3 album Woodstock set. I just count those as one because they're all in the same package,
Yeah.
Well, if you go to any record store, you've got like Status Quo. There's 2,000 albums of the same stuff.
Right.
And I love Rod Stewart. Always have, always will. And he's just released the new greatest hits. And it's
right.
I just thought, well, okay. I mean, there's 10,000, and it's the same songs, but you can get away with it. Yeah, someone's making some brass somewhere.
You know, the last 3 weeks, you know, the world has been really focused on Birmingham, England, because of the Back to the Beginning concert and the farewell concert and all that. Then the untimely passing of Ozzy, you know, and I know you had a connection to Ozzy, you know.
I did.
So how has Ozzy's death affected you, you know, this past week? I know it's affected.
I'll be honest with you. You know, you read so many things, and you know, I woke up, and we're 6 hours behind England here, and there was something, and I thought, oh, here we go. Someone's just, you know, you're always reading something that someone's dead and they're not, and then the harsh reality, it was true, and I was like, it's hard to describe. I was a little stunned because, you know, we'd only seen the concert 2 weeks earlier, 17 days earlier, and we knew his health wasn't good, but no one thought it would be this rapid.
Yeah.
And as the days wore on and have worn on, all these different memories that I'd actually forgotten have been coming to the surface. And they're all great memories because they're not musical memories. They're just me being at the house and, you know, see, one of my oldest friends is Tony Dennis, who was, if you ever watched the Osbournes, you know who he is. He was Ozzy's personal assistant for 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You know, we went to school together when we were this little. And they moved into the then new house, and they had to be very careful who they employed because they had such trouble with people stealing things and that. So another great friend, my friend Will, who's a bricklayer, Tony employed him to do the construction, and he employed me to carry the cement and the wheelbarrow.
That's great.
So it wasn't a musical connection, but there was so many just fun times sitting around drinking tea and
right
chatting, and then if they went away, I would house sit and stay overnight and look after the house and the dogs, and you know, and just nice, lovely memories. You know, not surrounded by the mayhem of the touring, just home.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still upset. You know.
Okay. Well, let me ask you about Club Newcastle Mayfair, where Bon Scott from AC/DC came in, and you got treated kind of like royalty. Could you tell us that story?
I can, because I was at college in Newcastle, which was probably 20 minutes walk from Newcastle Mayfair. So if the AC/DC were playing, so I bunked off college to go and get autographs. So I was just standing around the back, and I was there for hours. And they rolled in a couple of Range Rovers, and there was only me and a couple of other people. So Angus signed and the rest of the band, and then Bon said, "How long have you been standing here?" I said, "Well, most of the day." He said, "Why?" I just wanted to meet you. I says, because when I heard you guys, that really affirmed what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. He says, "Well, I'm getting you a beer." he took me into the Mayfair and all the crew, and he shouts up, he went, "This is Paul. He's with Bon. Nobody's with him."
Nice. Well, that must have made you feel good.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
He was so nice.
Such a great guy. Yeah.
And then about a month before he died, they came back, and I was stood outside, and he went, "Paul, come on." And,
wow.
It was only brief because, he says, "I've got stuff to do and all." I said, "Yeah, I get it." Right.
Yeah.
But, look, again, those are the days where people weren't as accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your rock stars and your heroes. And
right.
I didn't realize, obviously, that over the years it would become such a special memory, because then he passed away very, very shortly after that.
Okay.
It's funny how, there's moments in your life that, like you said, when you met Bon Scott and you heard, that's what you wanted to do, I had kind of the same feeling when I met Elvis Presley. It was like that changed that in my mindset. I said, I have to be in the music industry one way, form, shape, or whatever. I got to be in it.
Yeah.
And I never, ended up being a musician or anything, but I still got into the music industry in a sideways type of way, But it's funny how you know that at that moment when you meet somebody, I want to do that,
Now,
Well, the thing is,
Dan, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I know if Elvis influenced you, that you can do that leg shaking thing. I'd just like to see you get up and do it.
The thing is, no one can top meeting Elvis Presley when you're, how old were you, 14?
15.
15, and you're there with the camera 2 foot from his face. I mean, that footage just gives me the goosebumps.
Well, let me ask you this. It looks like, where was this at? Hammersmith Odeon in London. You opened for, I think you opened for Guns N' Roses. Are you in this play? Pardon me?
That's before I was in the band, but yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask you, that might have been during the period of time when Axl made everybody wait for 2 hours before he came out, and it was really an asshole to deal with,
I'll tell you a funny story if you would.
Yeah.
But it might be, God, it's probably 10 years ago. We the last version of the Quireboys as us.
Right.
I think, was it Salzburg, Geneva, somewhere? Axl wanted us to come and open up for them this sort of arena. And it was in Switzerland, yeah. So, before we went on, they couldn't have been better. There was none of that support band getting half the PA, half the lights, or anything.
Okay.
The crew were fabulous.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Right. And he came in to see us and just seen how pleased he was that we were there. He loved the Quireboys, etc. And it came to showtime, which I think was 9 p.m. And there he was. And he said, I don't know what all the fuss is about. I'm on time. What he didn't say was the authorities there, Swiss time, they said, you can go on any time you want, but we're switching the power off at midnight. So if you want to play for 10 minutes, that's fine. Right? And but I'm saying that everybody in the whole thing was superb.
Nice.
Somebody in the chat asked a question a little while ago. I saw it go by. They said, "Who is the one person you've met where you actually got starstruck?"
Tony Curtis.
Oh, really? Actor Tony Curtis?
Actor Tony Curtis.
Oh, yeah. And, Jamie Curtis's father, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what happened there was I was doing this thing for the BBC in London, and I was in this band, as was Keith, and how this came about, it never planned. But me and Keith were hired session players for this record company, and every week we had to turn in an album, a covers album. So 1 week it would be Zeppelin, 1 week it would be Rod Stewart and the Faces, Talking Heads, whatever. And at the time, I was playing with this fabulous artist, Bap Kennedy, who, rest his soul, is not with us now, and Belfast guy. So we went off to Nashville to do an album that Steve Earle was producing, right? Anyway, we had a day off from the studio, so we went to Memphis and went to Gracelands. And then, of course, we went to the pub. Mm-hmm. And we were always trying to think of the next thing to do the next week so we get paid. Right? And we says, why don't we do an album with Elvis singing only songs by dead people? Right? So we did Elvis singing Thin Lizzy, In Excess.
Wow.
And we did it when we found this guy, the King, who was absolutely unbelievable Elvis. And we did the album, and then we moved on to the next thing. And next thing, Bob Geldof, Boomtown Rats, Live Aid, he starts playing it on his radio show. Anyway, this thing just went through the roof. I went to see Bryan Adams at Wembley, and what's blasting out that album. So anyway, I know I'm going on. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I just wanted to mention that Betty and I were big fans of Steve Earle back when he was really out doing his thing. What an artist, man! That guy was great.
Well, me and Amy went to see him in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. I know I'm digressing. I apologize.
It's okay.
So I don't have his phone number anymore. I haven't seen him in years and all that. So I did something I haven't done in years. I wrote a letter with a pen and a piece of paper, and I took it to the show when I said, "Hey Steve, it's Paul. You know, I was in Buck Kennedy's band. We did Domestic Blues with you. I stay with my girlfriend here in Palestine, Texas, and I just want to say hello, have a fabulous show." And I handed it to his guitar tech. Next thing, the guitar tech comes back. He goes, "Steve wants to see you after the show." So me and him went back, and I won't say the F word, but he said, I walked in and he says, "How the hell did you end up in Palestine, Texas?" It turns out he used to live here.
Really?
But going back to Tony Curtis, it was the Jerry Springer show in England. Now, it was a very different show. It was like a variety show. It wasn't people fighting and bashing each other with their shoes and all that.
Right.
Tony Curtis
wasn't Jerry Springer.
Yeah, and you know he had one of the Spice Girls on and this, that, and the other. And Tony Curtis was one of the guests. So in the green room afterwards, when we're having drinks, Tony Curtis came up to me. He says, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "What was your role in tonight's show?" I says, "Oh, I orchestrated some of the music." He went, "Wow, great job." He says, "Do you want to meet my wife?" I went, "Yeah." And he wasn't very tall. And this like 9 foot tall, busty blonde came over. So I did the classic fanboy thing, and I got my mother on the phone because she loved Tony Curtis. And I said, "Would you stay out with her?" And he was so charming and lovely.
Oh yeah, he was a big deal when I was a kid as an actor.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So everybody liked him. Let me ask Dan a question. Dan, do you think it's time to maybe ask the chat to bring their questions forward?
Yeah, I was just about to mention. I see Brian Gibbons got a question.
Yeah, there's questions popping up. I just want to say one thing first. If you guys haven't already hit the like button, please hit the like button. I think it's been a little slow tonight. And also, if there's anybody out there that hasn't subscribed to the channel, that's here now, or not even in the chat but listening, or we're going to get a lot more people watching this later for sure. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Help the show continue to grow. Thank you so much. And I'm going to start out with this question. George Pita is asking. Let me go up and find it. I almost lost it. Have you had any bad experiences with other bands or musicians?
Well, yes.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm not one to dwell on troublesome people, etc., and rubbish their name in public. To be honest, everybody has off days, etc. And I've worked with some people who were probably a little more difficult than they needed to be. But I would say 99% of everything I've done has been just, trouble-free and nice.
Okay, cool.
How diplomatic was that?
That was great. Yeah, no, that was perfect. Brian Bingham wants to know, what was Paul's favorite personal lineup that he performed with? What was your favorite personal lineup?
Well, think about this, it's sort of like, there's myself, Griff, Keith, Pip and Nick. We've been playing together for over 20 odd years.
Wow.
I mean, it's to me, it's perfect because we know each other so well. And but aside from that, the down and outs, because for the simple reason is, again, I'm blessed. I'm playing with the best musicians, but the music, even though it's, you know, it's rock and roll, it was a very different thing and a completely different challenge. And, you know, I equally love that, but at the same time, it's still
right.
So most of the band is still me, Griff, and Keith. So
nice.
Yeah.
So,
I've been very lucky in that department. But again, when we had the Clan with Brian Robertson, that was a heavy blues band, different type of thing, you know.
Right on. We got James Watson saying, I like my busty blondes to be 9 feet tall.
Well, I don't know what she's doing these days, but you can always give her a call.
Okay, chat, this is your chance. Any questions for Paul? I'll pull them up on the screen and we'll ask Paul. Natalie, that thing that you did. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? My mom's cousin was at the gate with a few other fans, and Elvis came out and talked to them. Well, that's totally cool, Winslow. Yeah, I grew up in Las Vegas, and Elvis had 2 different residencies out there. And, of course, between them, he was doing movies, and Dad took us and all the friends we could fit in the station wagon to the drive-in to watch every single one of them. And we loved them all. We were kids, and we were all Elvis fans when I was a kid, especially living back where we live, because he was always part of the entertainment, part of the news back there.
Oh, we got a question in the chat from somebody named Amy. Do you like Great Danes?
Do you know what?
I must be behind on the chat. Let me scroll down, see if okay.
Well, I think you know that I do.
Yes.
Having never had a dog to having 2 dogs, which is one is the most beautiful, loving Great Dane, who's bigger than me.
Right.
A Labradoodle who can't get a look in when there's cuddles going round. Yes, I do like a Great Dane. I did see one question there, but I could focus. There's someone said, "Who inspired you to be?"
I got it up. I got it up right now. Who inspired you to become an artist? That's a great question, Caitlin.
So I was 11 years old, and it was sort of 1973, and of course the glam thing in England was really taken off.
No, I can imagine, yeah.
And the band Slade were my band, right? I loved them. And my friend Chrissy Bauer, who lived across the road, had a guitar. And I was fascinated by this thing. You know, I played it, right? And he didn't play it then either. But here's the interesting thing. I used to look out the window, and there was this fella used to walk past the house, and he had big curly hair like Robert Plant. And he always had a black Les Paul with him, with this unbelievable guitar strap, right? And I was mesmerized. So my friend had a guitar. I loved the music of Slade. And this unknown fella to me at the time used to walk past the house, no guitar case. Anyway, I became friends with him in 80 years. Now, I haven't spoken to that fella in over 30 odd years. He just contacted me on Facebook and made friends. His name's Dave McCafferty. And of course, the first thing I said, oh man, I says, when I was a kid, and you know, and he was very pleased with how things had went for me. And he said, Paul, I've still got the strap and I'm going to give it to you.
Oh, wow.
You're kidding me.
Nah, I'm not kidding you.
Wow, what a story.
I couldn't believe it. And he sent me a photograph, and there it was.
Good question here from Rockin' Robin Bird. What was your favorite place to play a show?
Well, there's quite a few. Because, you know, when you're going up through the ranks, the famous Marquee Club was obviously on the list. So the first time I got to play there was, I would say, 1989, opening for a band called the Dirty Strangers, who are still great friends. And Alan, the singer, his best friend's Keith Richards. He's our tour manager. And then there's a place, obviously the Hammersmith Odeon, which was obviously, you know, some of the greatest artists of all time have played. But there's another venue in London, the Shepherd's Bush Empire, and that's in the Beatles movie A Hard Day's Night. And if you watch the old grey whistle test of Skinner doing Freebird, that's filmed there as well.
Gotcha.
But again, there's so many, in different countries, etc. But if we're talking England, and Newcastle Mayfair's not there anymore, but Newcastle City Hall is. So, when you're growing up and thinking, and you're dreaming of playing the same places you saw your heroes. So there's a handful.
Well, okay, James Watson wants to know, who was your favorite monkey?
Oh. I hate to be bored. I didn't have a favorite one, but I do remember in the 60s watching the show and loving it. But I guess.
Yeah, I know.
I guess Mickey Dolenz was the.
You're right.
He's the one that stood out the most because he was the goofiest.
Well, that's right. The monkeys were really popular in Laurel Canyon. Everybody wanted to be their friend.
Yeah.
Even though they kind of started out as a made-for-television, boys band, but everybody loved them. They loved the show. They were funny. They had some good songs out too. But one of my favorite stories about the Monkees is they came up with a plan to get Jimi Hendrix more exposure in the United States by having him open for the Monkees. And he didn't even like their music, but they loved his. They seen him at Monterey Pop, and some of them did. So he agreed to do it, and it was supposed to be something like a 28 show, tour. And by the time they got to the 7th show, Jimmy would get up and open for him. And he'd go, "Foxy lady," and he'd beckon them to all scream back. 14-year-old girls in the front row with their moms and dads, beckon them to scream back, "Foxy lady," and they'd go, "Foxy Davy," And this just went on song after song after song, and he was just getting so flustered. He finally threw his guitar off, flipped the audience off, and walked off the stage and quit the tour.
I actually watched something on Netflix recently, and it was a biopic, Hendrix one, and it was actually very well done because some of them aren't. And they actually addressed that thing when he's opening for the Monkees, and he just
did they?
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he wasn't really in favor of doing it. But they'd seen that Eric Burden wasn't getting as much traction, and he wound up opening for a more pop act, and he wound up getting a larger audience. I thought, well, what have we got to lose? Well, it didn't work out. But Natalie Angelo is asking, Paul, what is your favorite all-time person to perform with?
Oh, you know what? I couldn't nail it down to one because, again, I've been blessed to play with so many great people.
Great people that are friends for years, I guess.
It's, my band now, I've seen we've been playing together for so long. I'll tell you something about Joe Elliott. I mean, he is the consummate professional. I would get the 6 a.m. flight from England to Dublin, get to his house, would have a bit of breakfast. We would work solidly for 12 hours. I would go back to the airport, get the 6 a.m. flight back to England, right? He never left the studio once. He was there the whole time. He knew exactly how he wanted to work, how he, everything. Bap Kennedy, as I said, that was the guy who Steve Earle produced the Domestic Blues album. It was always just great fun. Now, there was this one night Steve came to see us playing in this tiny little pub in London. And so we're up there, and he starts this song that he didn't tell us he'd written it that afternoon. No one had ever heard it. And we're going, "What's this?" And he went, "It's in G, just play it." Right? And you've got Steve Earle sitting 2 feet in front of you with his arms folded, checking out the band. And then he pulled another one out the bag, another one he'd written that day that we'd never heard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
So, okay, well, Jersey Devil wants to know if there are any songs, concerts, or events you regret doing.
Oh, flippin' heck.
That's a tough one.
It's really put me on the spot because I'm sure after the show I'll think, "Oh my goodness, this one, that one." But
right.
I've got to be honest, nothing is springing to mind. It's so terrible in my memory that it was.
Yeah.
There's been difficult things like equipment, terrible weather, this, that, and the other, but they were just circumstances. Nothing that haunts me, to be honest. I'm sorry.
You know, you told me a story. You told me a story that I thought was pretty interesting, where the Down and Outs were putting on a show, and I think y'all were probably playing "Funeral for a Friend," "Love Lies Bleeding."
Oh yeah.
And then you turned around, and there's Jimmy Page sitting there. You know.
Well, what was funny was it was sort of like it you know, it's hard to spot it because the camera works so quick. If you watch that, he's sitting on a plastic chair, slap bang next to my Marshall half stack, with his legs forward, and I thought, and you're opening with 11-minute song, "Funeral for a Friend," and I mean, one wrong note, it's like walking a tightrope.
I can see that for sure.
Right? And you've got Jimmy Page just sitting there smiling at you, and I'm thinking, oh, crikey, I better get this right.
I love that.
Were you able to meet him and talk to him or anything? Or
oh yeah. I've been in his company many times.
Okay, cool.
Lovely. And you know, he was in the dressing room afterwards, so there was him, Ian Hunter, you know, us, and you know, they were trying to hatch a plan to form a band, actually, which never came to fruition.
Oh.
But, well, it looks like our friend George Pita here worked with Diddy once at one of his freakouts. No, it doesn't say that. It says at a studio in Jersey. This is how far I am behind in the chat. Here's the question to you about the Great Danes. Am I like about 30 minutes behind as usual? What are you going to do when you're talking and, you know, running the show? It's hard to keep up. Where was your favorite place to play a show? Your favorite place to play a show? Did we cover that one already?
Yeah, we covered that one.
Yeah, okay. I skipped forward or backward, one of the two. A little while ago, it's been probably 45 minutes, but did I completely disappear on screen? Because all of a sudden,
it's been coming and going.
I was no longer on StreamYard, and I came back and everybody was still here and still talking, and I wondered if it had even really left the screen for anybody else. But you saying I've been coming and going off the show?
Yeah, but it's been, you know, it's been showbiz.
Well, I saw you disappear once, but it was just for a second.
Well, yeah, it was a while back, but I kind of freaked out. I thought I'd lost the whole show, and
no,
you know, and it was good when I came in and everybody was on still talking like nothing happened. I was like, thank God.
we didn't even miss you.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad, you know. Let's see. Stephen Fox, come on, feel the noise. Yeah. Mama, we're all crazy now. Slade was on fire. Okay, right on. Okay, yeah. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Like I said,
well, I read somewhere. Did y'all open up for David Lee Roth or something?
Yes, we did.
And Whitesnake.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, David Lee Roth was he was exactly as you would imagine.
Okay.
And he was a lot of fun. His band were great, and we did the whole UK tour with him, and we did the Whitesnake tour. A lot of, basically a lot of touring.
Well, what's it like on the road for that? I mean, for that long out of the year and for as many years you've done, I mean, it's got to be kind of exhausting.
Well, you don't realize it at the time because you literally, I mean, anybody who does this will agree. That is how it is. Excuse me. For the next 3 days you're not getting sleep, but you might have a day off even if it's a travel day, especially in America, the long drives, you get a chance to snooze. But it's not until you finish and you look back at it and go, my goodness, I mean, how did we do that? Especially, like in Australia, or even American shows, you'd finish the show, go back to the hotel, shower, go to the airport every night.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah. No, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah. You had told me that you've been all around the world and you've been all these exotic places, but a lot of times you don't get to see anything. It's basically the airport, the hotel, the airport.
Yeah.
And...
I've been to so many places. People say, "Have you been to so and so?" Yeah. Oh, did you go over here? Nope. I flew in, went to the hotel, went to the sound check, had something to eat, did the show, went back to the hotel, and left.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the downside of it.
Yeah. I can see that too. It looks like there's more to the Diddy story here. His crew threatened the promoter. They said this is his world and we just live in it. True story. Look at him now. Stephen Fox brought up T-Rex. Caitlin said she's not surprised to PETA about the Diddy story. Natalie says T-Rex was great. Did you have any experience with T-Rex, Paul?
No.
Okay.
I mean, again, love them because it must have been the same here. There was no internet. There's nothing but what the kids grow up on now.
Okay.
And, if you were a super music fan, you had to dig deep to get anything magazine or a poster or this, that, and the other. And we had like one show a week in England called Top of the Pops, and it was the nation's thing, Top of the Pops. So the charts. Yeah. And we lived for that. So,
gotcha.
So you see, your Slades, your T-Rex, Sweet.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones, anybody.
Yeah.
That was the show. And over the years there'd be a few more crept in, but back then.
Oh yeah. Well, Stephen Fox says Bolan influenced everyone. Did you know him at all?
No, I didn't know him. No.
Okay.
No. I was too. I was living in a small town in the northeast. We had no access to our pop stars then.
Okay. And Rockin' Robin Bird, Paul says, awesome. Thank you, Paul. She really appreciates you coming here and entertaining us like this.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
Caitlin says, thank you for answering my question, Paul. That's really neat. Caitlin, incidentally, is actually a writer, and she gets sent to shows to write stories about the concerts and stuff like that people will publish, different magazines and stuff. And she's got a podcast too, Caitlin's Magical Corner. George PETA, I only speak the truth. Yeah, you and Diddy only speak the truth. Yeah. Mark left us too soon. Must be Bolan, Natalie Angelo. Yeah.
He died in a car crash.
Okay, that's too bad.
And it's quite interesting because one of the houses I lived in London was 10 minutes from where the fatal crash was. And there's actually someone's done a statue of him there. And
wow.
People come from all over the world
to see it.
To visit that spot, yes.
Gotcha.
And
Caitlin Stoddard saying, yay, Paul is a Monkey fan. Love that band. I sent Caitlin a Monkey album once because she was always talking about him on her show.
The cheeky one.
Yeah, and then George PETA says, the drummer of course. Okay.
Don't know what that means.
I'm not sure either.
I guess it's Mickey Dolenzi's talking about.
Yeah, yay, Mickey, right here from James Watson. Natalie, Davy Jones was my favorite. Yeah, he was a lot of people's favorite. What he died not really young, but he didn't, the only one left.
But I heard, because David Bowie's real name is David Jones.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why he changed it, because Davy Jones was obviously a big star at that point.
The
Monkees, of course, two well-spoken Englishmen called with the same name, and
Yeah, right.
So that's when Bowie decided to change his name.
I was a big fan of the Monkees when I was a kid, and I got to see the Monkees in concert with Herman's Hermits. So that was
well. Here's the thing.
That would have been cool.
My first band that I decided I liked that wasn't my mother's music or my sister's was Herman's Hermits.
Okay.
And Charlie Green, the bass player, is still a friend of mine.
Oh wow!
And his best friend was Keith Moon. Now, you had these hermits who were these, you know, portrayed as these squeaky clean English boys.
Yeah.
And, well,
Yeah.
I've sat in many a pub with him, and he's told me the stories of him and Keith Moon. And,
Right.
you know, and the rest of them that dispels the rumors.
Well, if you're hanging out with Keith Moon, it can't be good. I mean, come on.
Hey, Dan, you remember Ashley Alexander from Talking Wax?
Oh yeah, sure do.
How could you not? But I was competing with him in the Wax show where we'd show albums, tell a story about our albums, and then the audience would vote whose story they liked the best. And this record company that was sponsoring that show would send you some free albums. You got to pick from them. And I even lost one time and got sent 3 albums because Davidson insisted that I took them, even though he'd won and he'd won before. He goes, no, Royce, I Jeff Davidson, I insist. But the funny thing was, I was trying to screw with that Ashley Alexander's head a little bit. He was real popular. He was a young English musician, nice looking guy, and he got 100% of the female vote, right?
Yeah.
So I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, I was doing this when you were still singing this song. And I sang, Entering the 8th I am. And I sang the entire song, second verse, same as the first. And everybody was laughing and shit, and I still lost.
Yeah, Royce and I used to compete against each other on that show.
Right. Yeah, it was actually a fun show. I can't say anything bad about it. I love the one where I was competing against Ashley Alexander, I think. And I told a story about, I made up the story about my New York mafia relatives. And, you know, these stories are usually a few minutes long. Well, mine has been about 35 minutes. and Ashley made a little spoof of it later and put it up where you see the panel sitting there, at, you know, like we're sitting here now. And then the scene switched and they were all skeletons because they'd all died waiting on me to finish. And man, I wanted that spoof so bad. I wish I still had it today. It was just hilarious. Joseph Blue, how you doing, brother? But that was fun. We really got a chance to get a little bit crazy there.
Fabulous.
So anyway, let's see. He was a killer songwriter, Winslow. Yeah, okay. I bought the vinyl album Electric Warrior by T. Rexter in '71, says Brian. Caitlin, Peter had incredible banjo skill. Okay. Stephen Fox, can Paul discuss his signature style and tone and his interplay with Guy Griffin? Paul, can you do that?
I can.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, going back to early influences, when I read, you know, it was more bands, you know, I was 12 years old, trying to figure out how to even tune this guitar. And then, of course, you know, when you start being able to put a few things together,
yeah,
that's when Rory Gallagher really came into my life, and I really honed in on his playing, not just the songs, but at the same time, you know, suddenly you've got Thin Lizzy, you've got UFO, you've got Cheap Trick, you've got, you know, and then a few years later, you know, the British rock bands. But it was between Rory Gallagher and Thin Lizzy, you know, it was that Irish style, and then of course Gary Moore. And the funny thing is, I do things now when I'm doing, and I cannot stop myself from doing certain things that are totally ripped off Rory Gallagher. Yeah. And I think, Paul, just try and not do it, and I can't not do it. See, and then slide-wise, Rick Richards from the Georgia Satellites. I mean, just off the scale, incredible. And obviously the tone. I mean, you know, anybody knows the tone comes from your hands, but you know, I'll either use a Telecaster or a V52 by Vintage. You know, this is the version of the Junior for slide. And you know, very rarely a Stratocaster these days, but it's the 3 guitars have been Les Paul, Telecaster, and Junior, and they have their sound.
Yes.
right, and luck, which was always important as well, you know. So the Les Paul thing was really from Scott Gorham and Thin Lizzy, you know, Californian guitar player. Always loved him. So when you were growing up, at that period in the 70s, there was you know, I've only mentioned a couple of people, but there was plenty to get your teeth into, to try. So, and, you know, even to this day, I can still hear it in anything I do.
Gotcha. Wow.
You know, I heard a story that's pretty cool. That you mentioned Roy Gallagher about his guitar and how what's that all about? I mean, that's a really cool story.
Well, what happened was, as I said earlier, I worked for the New Kings Road Vintage Guitar Emporium in Fulham for 10 years. It was a great friend of mine who was my boss, Rick Sigmund. He's a drummer. And that's how I got to know Joe Walsh. And Gary Moore used to come in on a Saturday and we'd jam, and, you know, you name it. Townsend would be in there.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Because, as I said earlier about Alan Rogan, the guitar tech to the stars, this is where we bring them. And, you know, Noel Gallagher from Oasis, when he suddenly made some money, he went from Epiphones to Gibsons. And where did he go?
Right.
You know, Richie Sambora would be there all the time, hanging out, having a cigar and a glass of. So became friends with him through the shop. And I mean, he used to play Stevie Ray Vaughan all day, and my goodness,
he was a damn good guitar player, Richie Sambora, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, greater than anybody actually realizes.
I think so. I did a show recently on the best guitar solos ever, and I named him on one of the solos, and I think a lot of people were surprised that I said that, you know.
Oh, he's superb, and I'm saying super nice human being. Yeah.
Well, you know, George Pita has a real serious question here. What is your favorite Taylor Swift song?
I have to be honest, I have no idea.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, it is a question. It is a question, but he's kidding too.
I agree.
Shake it off.
Not that I'm saying I don't like it. I live in a bubble.
It's not your style. I know.
Well, you know what? It might be. I just haven't listened to it.
Yeah, no, I don't listen to her. I mean, I've never been interested, but you can't help but hear it, you know, because she's so popular. But anyway, Natalie Angelo wanted to thank you for answering her question.
Well, my pleasure.
Okay, good. George Pita laughing about James Watson's comment. Shake it off. Okay, let's see. Caitlin says, oh, Caitlin's rolling her eyes. That's what she's doing. George, laughing my ass off. No Swifty. No Swifty.
Well, you know what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'm going to listen to Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I know she did a song with Def Leppard, so, you know, I'm sure.
Yeah, you might like that. You might like that one. That's your kind of people, Def Leppard.
Yeah.
What is Brian Bingham saying? I have a super deluxe copy of the book, The Monkees Day by Day, by author Andrew Sandoval. Well, that's kind of cool. Everybody loved the Monkees. I mean, I don't care who you were. You loved the Monkees, right?
Well, the thing is, great songs, great songs. And I believe Neil Diamond wrote half of them.
Yeah, Carole King.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they had great writers. And
yeah, there was some caliber there.
They were just fun. You know, they had fun personalities.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Their show was comedic. You know, it was supposed to be funny. Stephanie's here. She's a gothic and romance writer. Came on my show last week, and we all went over and subscribed to her show. I did the night she came over. I couldn't do it while she was on, but I went over there afterward. Natty Angelo, laughing out loud. Okay.
Well, she mentioned Ian Hunter. Now, you performed with Ian Hunter before, right?
Yes, that was a real thrill, that one. And I tell you what it was when he came to rehearse with us.
I'm sorry, Dan. You're right.
When he came to rehearse in the studio, because we were rehearsing Down and Outs, and then the whole idea was we would do the Down and Outs set, either, you know, where you said opened with Love Lies Bleeding and Jimmy sitting there. He came on and we were going to do the Hooper Classics, and they cut the power on us. Right? They cut the power, and all hell broke loose. And it made all the newspapers the next day. And I just remember turning around, and Ian's got his guitar in the air. He's heading for someone he thinks has pulled the plug.
Oh.
But when we were rehearsing, he says, "Oh, I don't like it loud. Can we do it really quiet?" And it was surreal. He's just sitting there singing with a piano, and you could hear a pin drop. We rehearsed it so quietly, but then with the rest of the day, he said, "Oh, come on, let's go to the pub." And of course, sitting there with Ian Hunter, and he's telling you story after story.
Oh wow!
And we were just like sitting around the Messiah.
Around the Messiah,
just
right?
Giving him a good listening to it. Fabulous.
Well, you know, it looks like Caitlin was actually at a freak off. Ooh, in the freak offs, ick.
In a what?
The freak off, Diddy's freak offs.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay. Well, he's
I really do live in a bubble.
George Pita, no freak offs. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we're all a little bit of a bubble. It's a little crazy here right now. The news is just insane anymore. It's funny stuff. Stay away from me, Pita. Natalie, gross P. Diddy. A face of somebody throwing up. That's great, Natalie. James Watson. Okay, I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions here. Stephanie, sorry, Stephanie, I didn't see the second part at first that you were actually asking a question. So I thank Dan for pointing that out. Okay, Douglas Gilbert. Paul, what punk rock bands have you seen, and did you play with any of them?
Well, yes. So I've seen a lot of them.
Okay.
Not so much at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
But in years. But we did a show in Spain, and they have a very different way of doing things, right? So the Sex Pistols were headlining,
right?
But the shows are so late there, you know, no one wants to go on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
wow.
So the Sex Pistols went on before us, right? So of course we told everybody we'd headlined.
Right.
It wasn't true, but you know, I mean, again, fantastic, and a lot of those bands, you know, in the 70s, they didn't really tour like bands tour, because there was always a big backlash, you know, and club owners were frightened to put them on in case there was trouble, etc. So it was always rock bands that you got to see, and it was at Newcastle Mayfair every Friday.
Okay, yeah. Same place you met Bon Scott, yeah.
Same place. It was the great. Yeah. It was the greatest club of all time.
Wow.
And so in '79, you know, you had the new wave of British heavy metal. So
right.
You'd have Iron Maiden. Saturday night you'd have Saxon. Right. Next Friday you'd have whatever.
Right.
But then you'd have Sammy Hagar with Def Leppard opening. Then you'd have AC/DC with, you know, Badger opening up, and
wow.
It
sounds like the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West in the States here.
It was incredible. And the funny thing is, again, Joe Elliott, he has everything that he's ever had. So every ticket stub, right, he's got them. Right. Now he lived in Sheffield, which is about, you know, let's say 3 hours drive south of Newcastle. So if the Sensational Alex Harvey band played Monday in Newcastle, Tuesday they'd play Sheffield City Hall. So he would be at that show, and I'd be at the one on Monday. but he's still got all the ticket stubs and he's got them all framed in his house. It's amazing. But you didn't realize at the time it was like $1.
Oh yeah,
like £1, $1 to go and see these bands. And of course, at school we all had part-time jobs. I worked for the milkman, so we had a bit of money so we could buy tickets. But every band it was just endless.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And I'd even go and see bands that I hadn't even heard a note because my friends were going. So I remember seeing Rush in '77. I'd never heard a note.
Oh wow!
But I got a ticket.
That's kind of like when I was in the Navy. When I was stationed out in San Diego. Every Friday night, if we were in port, I was at a concert, and I was a huge ELO fan.
Oh yeah.
And I told my buddy, I said, "Man, we got to go see ELO," and he had never heard of them before. So, but he came along anyway. To this day, he's a huge ELO fan because sometimes people just have to turn you on to a band that you haven't heard before. Yeah. And then you ask yourself, how come I haven't heard of these guys before?
Yeah.
Right. Hey Dan, have they figured out what's wrong with Jeff Lynne? I mean, I know he had to cancel some shows and stuff.
I haven't heard anything.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to mention to Paul that Chris Barlow, I've got his message up here. He really enjoyed your interaction with Bon Scott in the early days. Thought it was a great story.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Also, you got another super chat here. Stephen Fox, $5.
No, you're kidding me. God, I'm so far behind. Oh, here it is. I had to scroll 2 pages down to find it. Stephen, thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. Let me write that down.
I wish I could actually see these things. I'm so blind. It's terrible.
He says, great interview. Paul, you're awesome.
Oh. Yeah, you are, Paul. We'd love to have you back sometime. This is a wonderful interview.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime.
Okay. Let me go up just a little ways. I mean, I know we're kind of getting short on time here. I just want to see. Let's see, Natalie Angelo. Oh, I love Peter Noon. He's my good friend. Okay, George Pita, always getting along with drummers. I have an album autographed by Mickey Dolenz titled "Mickey Sings." Michael Nesmith. That's great. Brian, that's a great story right there. And but once again, I want to go back up and thank my friend that Stephen Fox. I really appreciate it, Stephen. That's awesome of you, man. You are a rock star. You're going to go on tour with Paul here pretty soon. See if I can't hook you up. Okay.
I wanted to tell you something quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to those days, I saw Van Halen open up for Sabbath.
Oh, you did?
I think it was 78.
Oh, my God.
Now, again, my recollections, basically, everybody had hair down to their knees. Everybody.
Right.
Like, you go to a concert now, it's a bit different, right? I'm still.
I know.
Still in that stupid time warp.
Yeah.
And everybody
right.
Swing.
No, that's exactly right. In fact, I think I just got rid of this picture out of my pictures in my albums here. Yeah, no, I had a picture of my wife and I had really long hair when I was like 18 years old. But I saw Sabbath. No, go ahead, Paul.
What I was going to say was, it's the first time, and I've been to a lot of concerts by then, that I looked around the audience and no one was shaking their head. They were just watching Dave Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. And it was like people had been like zapped with a stun gun.
Right.
It must have been like 10 years earlier seeing Hendrix. When it was just unbelievable. Wow. We'd never seen that flamboyant LA type thing with David.
Right. Oh yeah, that must have blown your mind.
Blown, and I've still got actual photographs because I was in the camera club.
Okay.
And I developed them myself, and I developed them back and front. So Eddie's playing left-handed guitar.
Oh.
I've got a picture of Ozzy one time. I think it was at an Ozfest, and I was up in the pit, and I got a picture of me. Digital cameras had just come out about that time.
Yeah.
And I'm there with my expensive digital camera, and what does Ozzy do? He throws a bucket of water on me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I saw Black Sabbath. I think it was early 72 at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And then again in 74 in Ontario, California at the Ontario Speedway at the California Jam. They were there with the Eagles and Deep Purple, Black Oak, Arkansas. I can't even think of the names of all the bands, but there was a lot of them. And, it was like a small one all-day festival. But anyway, I love those two shows for sure. And
yeah, I remember that California Jam. I was like 17 then.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's that. You can still find that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. When they've got the big long knee length boots on and.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I kind of remember Ozzy in Black Sabbath back in those days in the 70s. Ozzy's on stage with both of his arms up with that fringe jacket he used to wear.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the signature look then.
I had an artist friend of mine paint me Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock with the white leather with fringe hanging.
Yeah.
He said, well, I've already got a couple of Hendrix. I go, oh, let me take a look at them. So he sends me pictures of them. I go, no, it's got to be Jimmy at Woodstock. So he made that for me. And it's original painting too. It's hanging in my entryway.
Brilliant.
I've got Jimmy Page out there playing the double neck. I've got Robert Plant above him holding a dove. I've got a great picture of Frank Zappa. I've got the Who. I've got the Jimi Hendrix I was just talking about. There's got to be something else. I just can't think. I've got stuff in here too. Hendrix and Bob Marley and the Beatles, Hendrix again, Elvis, and some stuff I bought and haven't even hung up yet.
You were talking about how Joe Elliott still kept all of his ticket stubs and everything.
Every program. I mean,
I did. I did the same exact thing all these years, and I like new technology, but it sucks that everything's on your phone now. There is no paper stub anymore.
Even the tickets then. They're made into coasters now.
Oh yeah.
But of course, it means more to us than someone younger than that. But now it's just a generic white piece of paper. Even if it exists, or it's just on your phone, there's no memorabilia.
Well, let me ask you, Paul. George Pita has a question here. Hung with the boys a Bullet for My Valentine when they were touring with Guns N' Roses. Do you know these guys?
I don't know them. No.
Okay. No. Winslow Red Cross is saying this is a great interview. So everybody's really digging it, Paul. Really digging it. Bullet Boys were great, Natalie says. Chris Elliott, what an evening of incredible, interesting stories. Thank you, Paul, for sharing your experience with us. Yes, we all thank you for that, Paul.
Well, it's very kind of you. It's my pleasure. And of course, the more we talk, the more things are coming into my head.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. One thing leads to another. You get reminded of something,
Well, I know one thing. Before you leave, I need to come back down to Palestine, or you guys need to come up to Dallas and spend a day with you guys again. Me and Joanne had a great time with you guys.
You know what? That was such a lovely day, and I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you both. And that was so funny when we got on the train, and I thought, if this door gets stuck, and we're stuck on here, we're dead. The heat.
It was hot.
It was hot. But your drone, I was because I like things like that. And when I saw it coming into land on your little helipad, I was going, I'm going to I have to have one.
Yeah, I'll bring my drone next time too. That was fun. I'm still trying to learn the little tricks on it, but the little video came out pretty good.
This is pretty funny. Jersey Devil says that was the Black Sabbath Never Say Die tour. Ozzy and David Lee Roth would have contests to see who could do the most cocaine on that tour.
Yes, wow.
Well, I'm sure it was quite some epic.
Yeah, for sure. Natalie Angelo says this was such an awesome experience tonight. Such an honor, Paul, Royce, and Dan. Thank you, Natalie. You know what? I feel honored that you come to the show and stuff. I mean, it works both ways, but I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. Let me put it that way. Stephanie Harrington, the Gothic and Romance Writings. Gutted about Ozzy, and I hope he's at peace. I am too. I was literally sick, man. when he did No More Tears, I mean, I streamed that live, well, 2 hours behind. Like everybody, I think everybody streamed it. There was 65,000 people, I think they're watching live, but half the world streamed it too.
Yeah.
And boy, I tell you what, when he was doing No More Tears, there were people sobbing everywhere in the audience. Camera panned over to a guy that was, I don't know, maybe 45 or whatever. He was bawling, and they panned to a guy close, almost next to him, and he was bawling. Then all of a sudden, the camera pulled back, and they were hugging each other, crying. And I'm like, wow. I mean, even that makes you emotional seeing that stuff, because people were really,
if you think
really,
about it, it was it's a double whammy, because it's like when you're told, okay, this is it, Sabbath, we're not doing it again. Every band, Kiss,
I know,
they've said it, but you knew this was it.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one wanted to believe or realized how ill Ozzy was. But God bless him, he did it. But so you had the realization, okay, this is really it. You see these guys playing together for the last time, and then 17 years later, wallop. It's like, whoa.
Well, that's exactly right. Oh my God.
I'm not one to shed tears very often, but I got to tell you, when I heard that Ozzy had passed away, it hit me.
Yeah.
And I normally don't do that with entertainers. I do, well, that's really, that's sad. We're going to miss them, but yeah, Ozzy was, to me, was actually a part of my life. I mean,
but the thing is, I don't think, if you really think about it, there's anyone who's been such a larger than life character, and of course, you've got the legions of fans. It's the music, and then of course he transcended into TV, and there was the Osbournes and everything.
Exactly. That's one thing I miss talking about. I've probably done 10 Ozzy shows in the last year.
Yeah.
All the way back to him being almost obsessed with doing the final show with the original lineup. Not that he didn't love Tommy Clufetis, his drummer, who I know. He's actually a godfather to my grandchild. Wow. But so we've been at the same place a few times, holidays and stuff. But Tommy's a super nice guy. What an animal on the drums. So Ozzy loves the guy, but he wanted that the other final concert they did, Bill Ward had contractual problems with somebody, and he didn't go. So Tommy Clufetis came from Ozzy's band, and he knew all the songs, obviously. And so he was the perfect stand-in. But anyway, he's been obsessed with doing that final concert. But then as the time drew near, we heard that Sharon announced he could no longer walk. Prior to that, it was like he was having a hard time talking because of the Parkinson's. And we didn't know what to expect. We really didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if he was going to make it. And I kept thinking, you know what? I think he's going to I think he's going to do better than all of us think he's going to do, But I don't know that was the case. But okay, let me just quick shout out to Rockin' Robin Bird. She gave me a $5 super chat, and because of you, Paul, I really appreciate this interview. What a fun time! Thank you, Paul. Is what Rockin' Robin was saying. So anyway, that's how we all feel, Paul. Man, you've been fantastic. But go ahead. I cut you off, but I just had to say thank you to Rockin' Robin.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Dan and I interviewed Mark Farner, Grand Funk Railroad, a couple of months back, and that was fun. And so maybe maybe this will start a trend,
Well,
I'm always out looking. It's got a network.
I mean, I've met Eric Singer, the drummer for Kiss. I've met Tommy Clufetis, the drummer for Ozzy. They all went to these little shows my son-in-law used to put on at the winery, and my son-in-law used to play at the Cat Club. Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats club owned the club. Yeah. And it was a popular place, and you never knew who was going to walk in. Slash might walk in. Somebody from any big name band might walk in just to sit in with them and have fun,
Yeah.
So he'd put these shows on, and all of these people would come up. It's like Dizzy Reed, who played some keyboards for Guns N' Roses. Teddy Zigzag, I can't remember his real last name, but nickname Zigzag. He played some keyboards for Guns N' Roses. Steven Adler, the original drummer from Guns N' Roses, all of them came up. And just a whole bunch of people. There was a certain amount, there's a certain group that was getting paid to be there and put up in hotels and fed and everything. But then all these other people just came because their friends were going to be here and they all wanted to just play with them again. So, yeah. I mean, you know, we had all of these people. It was just crazy, the people that were there. I mean, Slim Jim Phantom was there. I used to feel sorry for him because either Eric Singer would be on the full drum set, Kiss's drummer, or Tommy Clefettis, Ozzy's drummer, a real wild man on the drum set, but super talented. And Slim Jim was always over there with the snare drum and the cymbal. I was like, hey, the guy just can't get a fucking break, right? So one day I came across a Slim Jim Phantom video where he was playing with the Stray Cats. I watched it. What was he doing? He had a snare drum and a cymbal. That was his style.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was very wise because if you're a drummer, you've got to lug all that equipment around.
Yeah, that was wise, right?
You can get on the subway with a cymbal and 2 drums. I'd go and play anywhere.
There's certain people that played there that if I had better rapport with my son-in-law, who had them all up there because he played at the Cat Club, you know, along with guitar player for Alice Cooper,
Ryan Roxy.
Ryan Roxy, yeah, Ryan, and I've met Ryan several times too. But you know, Ryan and my son-in-law are tight, and they were all together in New York. Him and the guy that does Horror House, Scott, you know, the Horror House album stand.
Oh yeah.
Him and Ryan Roxy and Stefan were just getting on the verge of being signed, you know, a record deal. When Roxy said, "I'm tired of waiting," and he took off for California. And by the time the other guys got there, grunge had kicked in. And their style of glam just wasn't happening anymore, you know. They just waited too long.
Ryan plays on our new album.
Yeah. That's
right.
He
does. Isn't that guy I mean, he's really fluid. Yeah, he's a good player.
Oh, superb.
Yeah, I just saw him in concert a couple of years ago.
No,
I'm sorry.
Nice fella.
Yeah, you know what's funny is Alice stands over those guys. Ryan will be playing, or what's her name? Damn, I was just talking about it. Yeah, Nita Strauss. They'll take turns doing solos, and Alice will kind of like put his leg up and stand over him, like, "Come on, come on, come on," and it just drives him to new heights, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating watching him do that.
He's like the conductor.
Right, like the conductor, exactly. Groovy Lisa, how you doing? Good to see you, girl. Keith Richards will. Not sure. Yeah, probably be making out a will. My sister said my dazed look was haunting because everything in my mind was standing still. Caitlin. Appreciate the interview. Thank you. We all love Paul here. You know, he's just amazing and so much fun to listen to talk. You know, and I got to really thank Dan, and I got to really thank Amy because you know Paul and Amy are. You know, they're together. They've been together for a couple of years. I just saw Amy announce Amy Parody, who most of these people know Amy. You know, I just saw her announce a 2-year anniversary for the time you guys have been together, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you, Amy. Thank you, Dan. I mean, it's a long journey for me through all these people to get you here.
Well, you know what? It's worked out nicely. And again, you know, we were just sitting one day and Amy says, "I've got to hook you up with Dan." And I went, "Okay." And we watched some stuff. I went, she says, "I'm going to call him now." You and your lovely girlfriend came down to the house. We went down the railroad, and which is always a gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and you met Lincoln and Darcy.
Yep. Yeah, Lincoln is a big dog, right?
I was going to say that was supposed to be the Great Danes I heard about earlier.
Yeah, trying to sit in your lap like a little puppy.
I mean,
okay, there is another question here, Paul, from George Pita. Who's Paul's favorite American artist?
Oh,
that's got to be a tough one.
It is a tough one because I wouldn't. I love Dan Baird, Georgia Satellites, Homemade Sin, and of course I've got a great story about that because I toured with playing guitar for him. I love Jason and the Scorchers. I love Steve Earle. I love Journey. I love. Oh, I can't think.
Lisa, you're right. I saw something about that just today.
There's
Somebody
so
made a
many.
little
John
video.
Waite. John Waite.
Oh yeah, John Waite.
John Waite, yeah.
Goodness, there's a voice that'll melt your heart.
Right.
Of course, a Cheap Trick. Adore Cheap Trick. These are the kind of things when you go off air, you think, oh, I wish I'd said this and I wish I'd said that. But that's just how it is. Your brain closes down.
Right.
Well, Paul, I know a lot of your friends from the UK are probably going to watch this, or either watching now or they're going to watch it later. And so if any of your buddies want to come on here to get an interview, we're open to anybody. So
that'd be great.
If Joe Elliott wants to come on here, he's more than welcome.
You know what? I'll tell you who would be a great guest for you is Chips Enough from Enough's Enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll drop him a line. I mean, he's a smashing fella. They're all smashing fellas. That's why they're my friends.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we have another question. Groovy Lisa wants to know who's your favorite female singer.
Who's my favorite female singer? Favorite. Well, it's funny enough, we were watching a movie earlier today and Emmylou Harris came on and she was singing Goodbye by Steve Earle, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. She's up with I think one of the best. Lucinda Williams. But of course, you see my country leanings here. And we go back to Patsy Cline. I'm not very good at these questions when it's who's your favorite because there's so many.
I know, there's so many.
Right.
You know, it's the same way with some of the music we listen to. It's like my favorite Zeppelin album is the one I just finished listening to.
Yes. the one you've just taken, put it back.
Right. And just like the other day, I just listened to Master of Reality. It was like, that's my favorite. You know, and I listened to something else today. You know, this could be my favorite. And, let's see. Stephanie brought up Dylan and Hendrix, and oh man, you're a person after my own heart, Stephanie. I love them both. I've done so many shows on Dylan and on Hendrix. You know, and
Bill
anyway, so yeah. When is Kiss's next tour? I think they're done. I don't know. I think Paul Stanley's been out doing some touring. Night, Royce, Paul, Dan, and my fellow rockaholics. Good night, Stephen. Thank you so much, brother. We really appreciate you being here, man. We really do. Thank you, Stephen.
Good night.
All great answers. I could never find the bottom of the chat. You know.
Something I know is it seems like there's a lot of good bands that have come out of Birmingham, England.
Oh yeah. That's so true.
Judas Priest.
Oh, was you right? Were they from Birmingham?
They were a good band at the show in Birmingham. The final concert.
Because it's funny how sort of like the atmosphere of an area, because it's actually called the Black Country because of the mills and everything.
Oh, is that Birmingham we're talking about?
What's that?
So that's Birmingham. So we're talking about the soot coming out of the factories and stuff.
Yeah, so it was called Black Country, and it kind of probably set the mood.
It's kind of a dark, depressing mood.
Yeah,
and they also, what I've read also too, Paul, is they came out of it was like post World War II when the Germans had been just firing rockets into England for like forever. And everything was just destroyed.
Well, they specifically hit specific areas like Sheffield, because Sheffield was a steel town.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Before the war, it was like knives and forks. So, but of course, they had the factories to make armaments.
Armaments, right, right.
And then of course you had London, which was the epicenter of power of England.
Sure.
So London got battered terribly. But I remember,
Oh
even,
yeah.
where I come from, this small coastal town, they were coming in there because we had this huge gas tank. And my mother told me she was on a bus coming from Newcastle to Blythe, and the bus driver had to, because the bombs were raining down and everything. She says, she remembers her knees banging together. She was so scared. So, it was specific.
Hey, Paul, we just got a good question from Rockin' Robin Bird.
Okay.
And she wants to know if you liked any of the grunge bands or musicians.
Could you say that one more time?
Rockin' Robin Bird would like to know if you enjoyed any of the grunge bands, the Nirvanas, the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm a funny so-and-so, right? Because I generally don't get into something at the time when it's, when it's all going on. I'm usually on catch up, because most of the time it's like, here, I'm not listening to the latest thing because I'm always working on something. So I'm not actively listening to, what's, and see, back when you lived in your small town and all that, you saw your friends all the time and they'd have this album and that album. We've all become so disjointed in our worlds. I might not see my friends for a year or so and so.
Yeah, I hear you.
We'll speak briefly, but it's generally not about music. It's about how your arthritis is killing you.
right. Your arthritis is killing you.
How you can't find your spectacles and stuff. So that's what's changed that, really. But
I think a good topic for us in the upcoming week could be following on the heels of this Back to the Beginning concert and Black Sabbath and Ozzy.
Yes.
Bands that originated from Birmingham. I mean,
Zeppelin and Black Sabbath both did. I mean, I did a video. I made a video on the Lost Jam session between Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. I mean, basically, Ozzy says, "Oh, they were just trying to fucking get us to sign up to their new label. I know why they were here." they'd come out with their new label, and Zeppelin did. So anyway, but they jammed. The tapes were rolling. It was being taped, and Geezer Butler in his book, which I have, Into the Void, says that the tapes, they were taped. The tapes are somewhere, and now that they're going through tapes to release some of the early stuff when they were the band Earth, supposed to come out like today or something, but I wonder if they aren't going to come across those tapes from the last Lost Jam session. Wouldn't that be great? Not only that, when I talk about the two bands knowing each other, John Bonham was the best man at Tony Iommi's wedding, and I did a video on that. And so Bonham and Iommi went out drinking, and they walked in to like the last place that was open. And John Bonham goes, 16 bottles of champagne, line them up on the table. And Iommi looks at him and goes, "Are you crazy? I can't drink that. I'm getting married tomorrow. I'll never make it to my own wedding." And so Bonham drinks all 16 bottles. So Iommi practically has to carry him home or hold him up. And they get to the gate and they're banging on the gate, and his wife's yelling at him. Bonham's wife's yelling, "You're not coming in. He's drunk. I'm not letting you. I'm not opening the gate. He's drunk. Come on. He needs to get in there." So she finally opened the gate, and Iommi takes him into his room and he leans him up against the heater, and he says, "Are you going to be okay?" And Bonham goes like that. and so Iommi goes on to say that the next morning, the morning of the wedding, he couldn't frickin' believe it. Bonham was about the first one there, tux all on and corset and the hair all slicked back. I have that picture too. It's my picture for the show. But anyway, so I thought that was a pretty funny story. But yeah, those guys were all from there. They were all from Birmingham. I mean, basically it's like where Jimmy Page found Robert Plant. playing
Well,
some little.
how Jimmy Page found Robert Plant was his first choice was a guy called Terry Reid. Right? I don't know if you're
No, Terry Superlungs Reid. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know who that is. But prior to that, he tapped Steve Marriott.
Yeah.
Steve Marriott's manager, Don Arden, told Jimmy Page, "How'd you like to play guitar with broken fingers?" And so that deal went south.
Oh yeah.
And so then he tapped Terry Superlungs Reid, who was getting his solo career really going, was supposed to be opening for, I think, Joe Cocker and the Rolling Stones in America.
Yeah,
But Jimmy Page had these concert dates to fulfill for the Yardbirds that were already signed up, ready to go. He goes, and Terry Reid said, "Well, if you can wait for me, I can go with you." And Terry and he said, "No, I have to go now."
That's right.
So he goes, well, why don't you go there's this guy named Robert Plant. I think he's just right for you guys. He was playing at some Hobbs Tweedle little school or something. And so Page went down there to check it out. And here he was playing to about 7 drunk people. And it was just the audience was pathetic, but he couldn't keep his eyes off of Page. He goes, you know what? He invited him down to the boathouse that he owned. And they stayed down there together. I mean, at that point, Page really didn't have a place to live. I think he'd been kicked out of his parents' house. So he stayed down there, and they shared their taste in music and listened to albums that Page said, "Which albums do you like?" From his collection. And Robert Plant pulled out this group of them, and he goes, "That's exactly the ones I wanted to play." And they found out they had a lot in common, and it wound up working out.
Yeah, and history was hit, and the new Yardbirds' first gig was in Newcastle Mayfair.
Oh,
yeah. Steve Marriott, he sang for the Faces, was it, or
the Small Faces? And then
the Small Faces, and then there was another band that was famous that he was
Humble
singing.
Pie.
Humble Pie. Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew an Englishman would remember the story better.
Yes. So
Amy's here. Lots of famous vocalists are from Newcastle as well. Sting, Brian Johnson, etc. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, Paul Rogers, David Coverdale.
Yeah, that's right, huh?
well, didn't you tour with Paul Rogers at one point?
Yes, that was the Down and Outs.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, that was
okay.
That was a great tour.
Thank you, Winslow. Yeah, Small Faces that's a question when we had one of these talking wax things. When I was going against Ashley Alexander, and I had the new Yardbirds with what later became the Led Zeppelin lineup.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he goes, well, who do you think got offered the job before Robert Plant? And I go, I don't know. This was like 5 years ago or something like that. And he goes, well, it was Terry Reid. Well, I wished I knew what I knew then what I know now. I said, no, It wasn't. It was Steve Marriott and then Terry Reid. Okay.
But of course, as generations go by, because everybody graduated to London, so everybody knows everybody because you drink in the same pubs, you're at the same gigs, even if you've got a small band, a big band.
Yeah.
Everybody's vacating that couple of mile area.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think that's a great idea, Dan. That would be a fun show,
Yeah.
And I wanted to say to George Pita, he says Newcastle is my favorite beer. Cheers. And I kind of went through a little Newcastle phase. My son-in-law Tim and his friends were all trying it out, and I kind of liked it for a while. Then it got kind of pretty strong tasting, but it was good in the beginning, but then it got kind of strong tasting.
Well, I don't know if they still have it, but like every city has its big hospital. They actually had or still have, I don't know, a ward dedicated for brown ale drinkers.
Okay. For brown, that's funny as hell. Okay, guys, any closing comments? Let's see. It's about 8:39. We've been going for a little over 2 hours now, so the chat's slowed to a crawl here. I'm actually at the bottom of it, so people are going to bed. So anyway, Dan, any closing comments here? Or?
No, I just appreciate Paul coming on here and discussing things, his career with us.
Paul,
and I would love to get back, see you guys before you head back to England.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, Dan.
Well, you know,
Okay,
I did promise you, if you come to Dallas, I want to take you around to some of the Pantera spots.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
listen,
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule all works around Amy's work, and
Yeah.
I mean, she literally works 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed we can do that. If not, you know you're welcome here.
Okay.
So,
Sounds great.
So,
it's
so
you know,
Paul,
it's just keep the ball in the air.
Paul, any closing statements?
Yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And of course,
good.
now after 2 hours, I've got another billion things to tell you.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I will announce one thing that I'm very, very pleased about. I've just been offered my own radio show.
Oh, wow.
Broadcasting out of Dallas on 128 dB Rock Radio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm nervous because that's a new venture for me.
Yeah, you had a meeting with
Thank
you
you,
had a
Ruby
meeting with
Lisa.
yeah, you had a meeting with that guy a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
That's right, yes.
Thank
Yeah, I
Chris.
remember that. Yeah.
Rob Caldwell, fabulous fella.
Yeah.
And we went and had shepherd's pie next to the Dealey Plaza.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm one of us. Okay, right on, guys. Right on.
Well,
I just want to say that, Paul.
Listen, thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
On your show.
Well, and likewise, I wanted to thank you for being here, and you thoroughly entertained everybody. There's just nothing but glowing comments about how much they enjoyed listening to you, and I feel exactly the same way. I enjoyed listening to you, and so I want to thank you for being here. Really had a fun time with you. Dan, thank you for sharing this with me, and Amy, thank you for sharing it. Did Amy approach you or Dan?
Yeah, Amy called me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Amy, thank you so much as well. So
Yes.
I got to thank Dan, Amy, and Paul, and everybody that showed up in the chat. You're all so appreciated. And if anybody out there hasn't hit the thumbs up button, please hit that for me. When you hit 50 thumbs ups, if you do it in a short enough period of time, yeah, it's kind of a milestone. The algorithm takes your show and starts finding new audiences for it, presenting it to them. It gives you an opportunity to expand a little bit. And if anybody's watching this now or in the future that hasn't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And I want to thank you guys all once again, Paul, Dan, Amy, everybody in the chat. Thanks so much, guys. And
Wait.
Go ahead.
Before we leave, I want to let everybody know, go out and check out the Black Eyed Sons' new album.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Cowboys
Black Eyed
in
Sons.
pinstripe suits.
What's it called?
Cowboys in pinstripe suits.
Okay, that's awesome. I love it. Thanks. And that's what's happening in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much for joining me. Cowboys in pinstripe suits. Look it up. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.